Well, the Tiwi Bombers had an amazing season in the NTFL competition, got through to a preliminary final and then ran into a red-hot Nightcliff Tigers and got bundled out of it. Some regrets from it, but they certainly did better than they did the year before. And one of the players who made it possible for them was former Melbourne Demons player Austin Wonaeamirri. He joins me. Ozzy, nice to have you on the program.
Yep, thank you.
Had a good year?
Yeah, no, look, like you said, we came back in the second half of the season, and the first few months of us, we had some sad news and affected us. The whole islands and passing of two of the young players, pretty sad for us and everyone else in the family. And then picked up, as usual, and yeah, so it was a game out of the granny and something we'll have to work on in the future.
Very close-knit group, the Tiwi Bombers, and there you talk about the two younger players that were lost. That has a real effect on the football team, doesn't it?
Yeah, like especially us. We're all family in the team and on the islands, and it's it's very sad for us. The whole Tiwi as well affected us really bad, and I think that's sort of the slow start of us. With 0-5, and that really affected us. But we got that out of the way and focus on footy more and what we have to do, and so we're starting to tick.
Take us back on a journey back to the early days. You started your junior football playing, I think, with St Mary's here in the NTFL competition.
So I started there at Saints, my juniors, and then debuted at St Mary's, and Damien Hill was my coach at Premier League level. So I learned a lot from Saints.
How many seasons with St Mary's at the senior level?
3 seasons at Saints, and to learn off blokes like Iggy Villager, Anthony, his brother, Brody, Stanislaus, Willie Rioli, just to name a few guys. Just coming through the ranks and playing senior footy at Saints, you learn off experienced players like that, and I'm glad I've had the opportunity to play with the champion players of St Mary's with them guys.
And then you headed to South Africa. Let's talk about that, because you went away with I think it was the Australian under-18 team, was it?
Yeah, it's Indigenous Flying Boomerangs were the first mob to head over to South Africa. I think it's 2006, and in that sort of that team we had Nathan Cracker, Malcolm Lynch, Brad Dick, and Joey Anderson, Cammy Arlott, Cameron Stokes, who went on to play AFL footy.
And the other good experience you had, of course, is when you went to Norwood and played in the SANFL.
Just finished high school and went down with Iggy Villager and Heath Colpert, who looked after me down in Adelaide, and put me down with a host family, a lady that really looked after me well, and it was a good experience. Well,
one of the greatest players from the Tiwi Islands who opened the doorways for Tiwi players to go down and play in the SANFL was the late David Cantilla, and he played for South Adelaide down there, didn't he? But he was well remembered, so the Tiwi Islanders have a good name in the South Australian Football League. Yeah,
it's really big for us.
And then the big news came, of course, when you were picked up by Melbourne to go and play in the AFL. Share that story with us.
The rookie draft was coming, I think, the following week after the main draft. So, I was just lucky enough to get rookied by Melbourne, and I think they gave me 2 days up and down. And I was down there and straight to training.
It's like your feet never touch the ground. One minute you're here in Darwin, next minute you're there in Melbourne.
Yeah, no, it happened just like that. Like going to training down at Sandringham. I remember walking out the door and to the Oval, and you see David Neitz, Adam Musa, Russell Robertson, Aaron Davey, Matty Whelan, who them two really looked after me really well.
What did they say to you?
Just enjoy your footy, be yourself, train hard. Opportunities will come.
Did you find it tough? Was it a hard thing to take on, to play at that level and train at that level?
When I first got there, I had to learn a few things. Head down, work hard, earn the respect, the trust of my teammates, and and getting feedback of Aaron and what to do, and because he was a rookie as well when he first went to Melbourne. Things like that, like I had to feed off Aaron, Matty as well, Matty Whelan. So now they really helped me along.
And then one day it happened. A thing that's happened to many young Tiwi players when they've gone down to the AFL, and for young boys in Australia and young girls now, they realise they're going to play on the biggest stage. They've been actually selected to play in the AFL. How did that news come to you and how did you react?
I got called in by Chris Connolly, who was a footy operation manager for the club. He called me in during a day off, so I went and did some work. He called me in the meeting, in the room, and he goes, I need you to sign something. I go, what for? And he goes, oh look, we're going to elevate you to primary list so you can, be selected for AFL. I just didn't say a word. And I was just one of those guys, just lucky that, I debuted early in the season. And I think all that hard work from, doing the pre-season work and learning off blood, doing everything right, ticking all the boxes, that got me the game.
Did you bring your family? I know you're very close to your family. It was difficult from you living away. Your father, of course, must have been over the moon to find out that you're actually now going to be looking like a chance of being selected at the AFL level. Who did you call?
After I got elevated, I rang Brenton and Toy, and then I spoke to him about, what's got elevated off from the rookie to the primary list, senior list, and I was really happy. And we went from there. I rang Dad, and I remember I had to explain to him a bit about that I'm off the rookie list, and if I get selected, then for the senior side to play, that AFL side to play on the weekend, they'll have to come down. And it happened so quick. We were training down at end of the week. We were training down at Victoria Park, and it got announced before training.
Did players come up and congratulate you?
Yeah, everyone did. All the players. I remember all the smiles on everyone's faces, and I couldn't wipe the smile on my face. But I was real nervous as well because I was debuting against Geelong, who won the flag the year before.
And then your dad was on the plane and on his way down to Melbourne. Did he come for the first game or not?
No, Dad didn't. Dad didn't come down. Dad came down. I think it was around 3 weeks after that.
Yeah.
In my first game, I had Brenton. Not pretty sure if his wife was there, but I had Brenton and his mum and dad, Bill and Alice.
Yeah.
So they come down, and a cousin of mine, Donald Mongatobi, was playing down at Leopold. So he was down in Geelong already. So I got him to the game.
Yeah.
Because the game was down in Geelong at Skill, and I had good support in the stands.
Just share with us running out onto the field down there at Geelong to play that very first game. You must have been pinching yourself. This is a dream come true.
Yeah, when we was driving down to Geelong, I was just itchy feet and shaking a bit. Like I was real nervous, and I remember doing the warm up, and Aaron Davey come up to me and like Flash said, brother, just trying to relax a bit, So, in the warm up, he said, just do, warm up like you're doing it at training. So that got me a bit of confidence from that, and started on the bench. Come on half through the first quarter. I remember had my first kick from a handball. I just come from the bench, and Paul Wheatley had the ball. He's under pressure, just handball out to me, and I had 3 meters space, and I just took the 3 meters, and I remember kicked it down forward. So that was, I remember, first kick.
And you kicked goals too. You became a goal kicking forward. Do you remember your first goal?
Round 2, my first goal. I remember, I had a bark in the forward 50 MCG, and had my first shot there.
And it was a sausage roll.
Yeah, goal.
Well done. Now, when your father turned up, you must have been so proud to have him sitting in the stand. I remember watching it on television, and the camera would often flash to him in the stand and then go back to you out there on the ground as well. He must have been just so proud. Yeah,
Dad came down, watched him, and my stepmom, who passed on as well, came down to watch me play against, I think it was Brisbane Lions, and I wanted to not to fail out on the ground. I wanted to play some good footy, decent footy that day because Dad was watching. But having him in the stands made me stood taller, and I wasn't under pressure. I was just wanted to go out there, play my own game, do the team things, and everything will come. And sitting with, like, seeing him. I remember I kicked the goal, looked at the screen, and seeing Dad and Big Jimmy Steins, and that really hit me, and I look back, I watch the game I go back on YouTube and I watch the game now and then, and it really gets me.
Yeah. And did he tell you how proud he was of you after the game? Did he get in the change room or later?
Yep.
What did he say?
I remember the final siren went, and him and Jimmy come racing over the fence, and Dad came up to me, my mum giving me a hug, and I just told him, I said, oh, you can't be on the ground, because that's really strict on MCG, and he's like, no. Jimmy come up and said, no, he's with me. So that was one of the best things that happened for Dad and for myself, and having him out there with me, walking back in the, going down to the rooms and, singing the song and seeing Dad, big smile on his face with Aaron and, Indigenous boys and all the other players as well. It's something I'll never forget.
And another thing you'll never forget, of course, is that sad day when your father actually was killed in a car accident. Share with us how you found out about that.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things that really gets me sometimes. I was at a supermarket with a lady that used to look after me, that used to teach me at school, Cheryl Allen. Best friends, and she liked my Melbourne mum, and left my phone in the car, and while doing shopping I went back to the car. There were about 30 missed calls on a Sunday morning on the 14th of November 2010. About 30 missed calls, 40 missed calls, and I knew something, because I knew I had a bad feeling. I knew something was wrong. And stepmom rang me, and a few family members rang me, and my brothers and cousins, and Brenton rang me, and it was just picked up the phone, and when they told me, I just paused for about 3 hours. I just passed the phone to Cheryl, and she did all the talking, muscle talking for me, and I just sat back, drank my coffee, and just thinking, is this true, or someone's, he might have just had a crash and might have knocked himself out, but I was in a Garden Point, I was at Pullingibi Garden Point clinic, and a few family members were there, and so it's one of it's a day like that, 14 November, it's all stuck with me forever, and that's a day where I sit down and think about that day, and it's something I'll never forget.
From the highest of the high to the lowest of the low, and then you came home. Obviously the funeral, and you had to come home. You talked about it with the Melbourne Football Club. They released you to let you come home.
Look, they were really good. I rang them that night, that Sunday. Aaron came around. A few of the guys came around and see me, gave me texts and supported me, and I was on the flight home that night with the player welfare manager, Ian Flack. I worked at the club for a few years, and he was good. He come me to Darwin and stayed at Brenton, picked me up, got me from the airport, and it was one of those things where I never slept for about 3 or 4 days, just thinking over and over. Got back to the islands, didn't hit me at all until the burial day. Everything was, I wasn't thinking straight. It was just, it was one of the days, like bad days I'll never, forget.
And with it came a certain responsibility for you. You had cultural obligations after your father had passed away, didn't you? That was what you had to deal with. I mean, you couldn't walk away with that. And then the reason I'm saying that is because when you left Melbourne and you didn't go back to play, there was some criticism from people who didn't understand the obligations you would then have to deal with. They were saying, we give these Aboriginal players an opportunity to play, and then they go home and they go walk about and we don't see them again, and because everyone loved you and they, you were such an important part of the team. How did you feel? How did you feel? You might not have heard that, but what can you say to people who didn't understand that you had obligations once your father had passed away that you simply couldn't walk away from?
Yeah, it's something like I spoke to about 6 people about this sort of stuff. And the outsider won't understand, what happens inside of us, So it's one of those things where after Dad passed away, but in a good thing, the club had about 10 players up there for a few days, with me, and had Dad's burial, so they witnessed our cultural stuff, me and my brothers, and what we do in our family, and how we dance and stuff. So they got to witness that, and go down to the cemetery and what we do in our culture. So they witnessed that as well. And going back to Melbourne, didn't feel the same. I wasn't myself, and had a lot of support, good support around the club, and especially Indigenous guys. They were, like, it was sort of when everyone texted me saying you're all good, it's kind of annoying. It was getting annoying at me a few times, and with that, like, I didn't feel myself, and I needed to come back home, and I wanted to reconnect to culture, and I felt like I was missing too many funerals, and it's something where people outside of just a funeral, but for me, I was losing my culture in a way inside me, which are missing out close family members' funerals, and I'm looking on social media and Facebook, and they're all saying, I'm sorry to think, passing, and I'm not there, so it's one of the things that hit me, and with Dad passing, that was on my shoulders as well. I couldn't. What I wanted to do is come back home and reconnect, and and like you said, the outside people won't understand, what goes through our head, and like I said, before, I'm grateful that Melbourne got me opportunities, and I'm one of the lucky guys that got to play AFL footy, and I thank them for giving me the opportunities, and there's another side for us is, we like, I'm a Tiwi bloke first, then we play footy. So I came home and reconnected to culture and my family, and I didn't walk away from the game itself. I walked away from the footy club, but hopefully everyone from outside understand why I did it for. There was some people, some negative stuff, but in a way, on my side is I wanted to reconnect to my culture, and that's what I did. And I don't have no regrets. I don't sit back and say I wish I was playing now. I don't do that anymore. Like, I never said it. I just look, like, I still follow them, but I don't regret anything that I walked away. I'm happy with the life I got now.
And football is big, and it's an important thing, but being a Tiwi man and honouring your culture is bigger than all of that, and that's what you're telling us here today. There's one image that stays in my mind. Melbourne came to town, Chris Connolly was here, and you and him were walking around Marara Oval. I saw you doing laps together. What was he saying to you?
It was Dean Bailey, it was the coach.
Dean Bailey.
Yeah, so we caught up with the players, and talking to Bales, and he was really good. Like, he understood my side of things, the story, and and he was just supportive to me, and like I said, I thank him now, and I know he passed on, but so it's one of those things where he gave me support. He said, it's all up to you what you want to do. We can't do it. We can't tell you what to do. It's up to you, your call. And I made the call there and told him that I think this is, I'm not going back to Melbourne, and just went from there. And
And here you are, all those years later, still playing footy at a really high level in Darwin with the Tiwi Bombers, and you almost got through to a grand final this year, and you were instrumental, you and Ross Tungatulum together. You did so much to help lift the Tiwi Bombers late in the season and almost got them to the line, and you've still got years in front of you, and I'm sure we're going to see some great football still to come from you, Austin. So thanks very much for sharing your story with us today. It is a great story, and it's a story we should always remember, that football is really big for a lot of Aboriginal players, but there's something even bigger than that, and that's your culture and your responsibility to your family and your culture. And Austin's made that very clear to us today. Thanks so much for talking to us.
Thank you, Charlie. All good.